Mom, come on, open up. This isn't funny.
The college student stands alone at the front door of her parents' house, tucked deep within the endless honeycomb of suburbia. It's a few minutes past midnight, and even the streetlights are out. What little she can see, she sees by the light of the indifferent moon. She calls up at the window.
Can you just let me in? Please, we can talk about this.
Nothing. Just closed curtains. She tries her phone, but her battery's dead. She must have used the last of her juice to hail an Uber on the way over. Less than an hour ago, the student was having the time of her life at a party a few neighborhoods away. She was back home from her out-of-state college for summer vacation, sleeping in her old childhood bedroom. Truth be told, she wasn't happy to be back, and didn't get the sense that her mom and dad were happy to have her back either. The student had never quite seen eye to eye with her mother. She was a stern, old-fashioned woman who could never really accept her daughter's lifestyle. In fact, she never even wanted her to leave for college. She always just wanted her little princess to find a nice husband and settle down just like she did. She'd taken her precious darling choosing to leave the nest as a personal slap in the face. Tensions had simmered since the student's return. Snide, muttered comments, poisonous glances, meaningful silences as they passed in the halls. And all that had spilled over into one spectacular shouting match because the student had the audacity to say she was going out to a party tonight.
You are my daughter and this is my house,
her mother screeched, veins rising in her forehead.
Do you think you could make a fool out of me?
The student stormed out after that, but she heard her mother's cruel words echoing out behind her.
If you're out past midnight, don't expect to be let back in.
The student had thought it was an idle threat, and yet, here she is, standing on the porch of her own family home, lights off inside and out, stranded in the dark, in oppressive silence. She could hammer on the door, keep ringing the doorbell, maybe even try to throw something at the window, but if she made a scene, she might attract the attention of her neighbors, and that would only make the fallout tomorrow even worse. No, this place is a lost cause. She sighs and walks away from the house, beginning the slow, mournful walk down the sidewalk out of the neighborhood. Her best bet is going to a friend's place and crashing for the night, then trying to mend fences with her mom in the morning. Everything would be easier then. That's when it starts to rain. The low, steady hiss of falling raindrops all around her. She feels her clothes soaking through and her makeup running down her face. At this time of night, it feels so cold. It takes everything in her to hold back tears. Her friend's place is about 2 miles away. That's a long walk on a frigid, rainy night, and she feels utterly exhausted. It seems like nobody on earth cares about her anymore. That's when the uniform sound of rainfall is broken by the engine of an approaching car, the glow of its headlights slicing through the gloom. For a moment, she feels a pang of fear, until she sees who's driving the car. It's a kind-looking middle-aged couple, a husband and wife, with soft, inviting features. They look like the kind of people she'd have seen at her mom and dad's garden parties as a kid. Friendly, neighborly, even. She feels like she can trust them. The car slides to a stop, the window rolling down. The husband leans out, his face twisted up in visible concern.
You okay, honey?
He asks.
You need a lift?
She hesitates for a moment. She thinks of a lifetime of advice given to her by her mom.
Don't talk to strangers. Never get in an unfamiliar car.
But all that advice feels a little hollow coming from the same woman who locked her out and put her in this very situation. Rather than walking in the rain, she decides to accept the kindness and get into the back of the car. The husband and wife are so polite, so kind. They offer her soothing words as they drive in the direction of her friend's place.
Looks like the rain's clearing up,
the husband says after a moment, as the pitter-patter of raindrops on the front window comes to a full stop.
Thank goodness.
The student sees her friend's house approaching, but the car passes it and keeps driving. That's when she feels her heart sinking in her chest.
You just missed it,
the student says, trying to remain calm. The wife looks back past the seat and smiles at her. The student can't see anything that resembles life behind her eyes.
Can you swim, honey?
She says. What follows seems like something out of a nightmare. The wife pulls a small revolver while the husband drives, and they tell her to stay calm. If she stays calm, everything is going to be fine. If she screams or tries to escape, well, she'll live to regret that. For a little while, anyway. They take her to a suburban home, a nice mid-level McMansion. They force her out of the car and walk her into the yard. She's expecting to see some terrifying torture dungeon or a shallow grave already dug for her. But no, it's a normal yard, with a vast lawn, a supply shed, and a decent pool, with a pair of cinder blocks and a chain sitting next to it.
"You're going to be okay, honey," the husband says. "It's all going to be over soon. You just need to do what we say for just a little longer." "Yes, dear," the wife says. "This isn't our first rodeo."
That much seems obvious. The chains are tied around her ankles at gunpoint. The other end is attached to the cinder blocks before they're thrown into the pool, dragging the student along with them into the water. It rushes up all around her. She draws in a deep breath and prepares to fight against drowning. But then she surfaces, her head just above the water. She looks down, sees the chain tethering her to the cinder blocks below, but the chain is just long enough to keep her head above water level. She's trapped, but she's still floating. Confused, she turns and sees the husband and wife standing on the edge of the pool, each wearing a manic grin. The husband checks his watch.
"Not long now,"
he says.
This is my favorite part,
The wife adds, seemingly barely able to contain her glee. The student floats in the pool, equal parts terrified and confused. There are glowing blue lights underneath the water. The jets bubble. Other than the fact that she's been kidnapped, nothing even really seems all that strange. Then she feels it. As the minutes pass, the water starts to feel strangely hot. It tingles against her skin. Is this even water? No, something's wrong. She looks down and sees that her skin, it's starting to bubble like boiling water. Every inch of her flesh, her clothes, her hair, they're fizzing. She's melting away like some human bath bomb before her very eyes. She can't help but scream. The husband and wife on the sidelines are laughing and clapping in delight. And the student can't scream for long. In a few moments, she won't have the throat or lungs to scream with. And in a few minutes more, there won't be anything left at all. The next morning, the student's mother wakes up to a quiet house. The sun is shining in through the window. Her daughter's bedroom is empty.
That girl, she says to herself, when's she going to grow up?
Little does she know, she will never grow up now. And perhaps if she hadn't locked her out that night, it would all have gone down very differently. No trace of the girl will ever be found. Today, we're dealing with an extremely dangerous filtration system with anomalous capabilities. But, my fellow researchers, do you know what's even more dangerous than anomalously filtering water? Not filtering water at all. According to another reputable three-letter agency, the World Health Organization, or WHO, around 1 million people die from illnesses as a result of consuming contaminated water every year. And because I'm all about containing horrifying threats to the human race, I'm teaming up with #TeamWater, a charity initiative that aims to raise $40 million to help 2 million people get long-term access to clean, safe, drinkable water. If you're able to donate, you get the official DrBob seal of approval, metaphorically speaking. And if you can't, you can still help by sharing this video around and spreading the word about #TeamWater. That's one joint operation that certainly shouldn't be classified. Unlike the matters concerning SCP-242, otherwise known as the self-cleaning pool. Like many codenames assigned to anomalies by the SCP Foundation, the pun belies just how dangerous and horrifying this seemingly innocent pool can really be. 4.5 meters wide by 9 meters long, with a depth ranging from 1 meter deep on both ends to 1.5 meters deep in the center, and a total volume of approximately 53,000 liters. It was discovered after the mysterious disappearance of a New Mexico retiree who'd been an out-of-state landlord for the better part of his life. According to the tenancy records of the house, tenants had changed frequently, something that had always perplexed the landlord. His tenants just seemed to stop paying the rent and disappear without giving any kind of advance notice. After retiring, he decided to live at the property himself, and after taking a dip in the pool, he found out firsthand exactly what had happened to all of his tenants, and just like them, he was never seen again. That's when the SCP Foundation got involved and discovered what they really had on their hands here. A swimming pool capable of total matter transmutation of anything placed inside it into completely sterile, chemically pure water. And this water is quite literally as pure as any water could be, so much so that it remains pure even when placed into contaminated sources. In order to test this, Foundation researchers dyed a tank full of regular water red before pouring a glass of water from SCP-242 into the tank. The added anomalous water remained pure, floating as a transparent orb amidst the dyed liquid. It seems that almost anything can be transmuted, but the amount of time the transmutation takes will depend on the severity of the contaminant added to the water. Ordinary river water was completely purified in 7 minutes. Mucky and stagnant water from a local pond was rendered clean in less than 20 minutes, and the pool was even able to purify 50,000 pounds of tar in 12 days. And then, there are the living contaminants, but all good things to those who wait. As the self-cleaning part of the codename suggests, the anomalous attribute of the pool activates autonomously as soon as something or somebody enters. The lights turn on, the jets start pumping, the dual waterfall features start to flow, and if it's in the pool, the cleaning crawler will patrol from side to side of the pool. This is the case even when the pool isn't connected to any kind of external power source. That, I'm afraid, is when things get nasty. While the disappearance of the property owner was certainly a strange occurrence, especially given the other quick departures from the property in the past, it wasn't a definitive answer. But the Foundation's investigation was given an unexpected boon thanks to a disturbing incident recorded on an on-site security camera some time after the homeowner had disappeared. The camera captured a scene straight out of a rom-com, which quickly transitioned into something out of a horror movie. A couple in their early 20s scaled the backyard fence of the property in the middle of the night, perhaps in a state of intoxication. They disrobed and climbed into the pool for some late-night skinny dipping, after obtaining a pair of inflatable rafts from the garden shed. As soon as they entered the pool, the lights, pool jets, and pool crawler activated. At this point, the woman became nervous. But in true horror movie fashion, her male companion told her that there was nothing to worry about. The owner of the house had disappeared. It's not like anyone would really care if they were doing some benign, sexy trespassing to cap off a special date night. After 24 continuous minutes in the pool, the woman began to complain that the water was getting unusually hot and her skin was starting to feel tingly. The man at this point actually agreed. If the two of them had gotten out of the water there and then, their lives likely would have been saved. And who knows what type of relationship they would have gone on to have after that. Maybe they would have gotten married, had kids, found the cure for cancer, and won the Nobel Peace Prize. Who's to say? But that's not what happened. Instead of getting out of the pool, they climbed up onto the rafts and fell asleep, floating together in the water, holding hands. 6 minutes later, both rafts popped, and the couple was dropped into the water below. The water began to bubble and froth, slowly turning red, like a crimson bloom from the location of each of the sunken young lovers. They screamed loudly as the water swamped them, any attempts to escape made futile by their rapid molecular disintegration. Once the water of the pool had gone entirely red, the bubbling stopped. 48 seconds later, the water turned clear, revealing it was now completely empty. No sign of the couple or the burst rafts remained. The Foundation contemplated adding a lifeguard after this. Naturally, when the Foundation encounters an anomaly that has the dual effect of creating incredibly pure water and utterly annihilating any alien matter placed into it, they have a few questions. What are the general properties of the water contained in SCP-242? Does the water retain any SCP-like properties when removed from the location? In other words, they wanted to test whether the water is safe for human consumption, both while in the SCP and outside of it. It's rare that in these files we're given a comprehensive ledger of the equipment used to actually conduct a Foundation experiment, but the file for SCP-242 features a full list of requested equipment in the experiment proposal. This consists of 2 titanium atmospheric dive suits altered to fit the testing criteria, 2 Class D personnel of like gender and race, age range to within 3 years, 1 food-grade titanium barrel 190-liter capacity, and 1 remotely controlled overhead crane capable of lifting 20 metric tons. Stay tuned, there's more. 1 automated titanium siphon system, 1 wireless communication system for separate links to and from both dive suits, and 1 home fumigation tenting unit used to create a, quote, neighborhood subterfuge. It goes without saying that conducting experiments for the SCP Foundation is both complicated and costly, but let's see if the results justified all this. Test Subject A was put into one of the dive suits and lowered into the pool, where he was instructed to drink from a metal straw that fed into the pool. While this was happening, Test Subject B was instructed to get into the other dive suit. However, he would not be lowered into the pool. Instead, he would drink out of a barrel filled with SCP-242 purified water. Test Subject A shared that he found the water to be incredibly warm and that it had a strange, chemically aftertaste. Test Subject B, on the other hand, reported that the water was cool, tasteless, and immensely refreshing. Strange. Already clear differences were manifesting depending on the water's source. The musings of the scientists were interrupted by a long, loud belch from Test Subject A. It seemed that drinking the water, which he reported as being warmer and more unpleasant to taste than ever, was causing considerable gas buildup in his stomach. Intriguing. The researcher asked each of the test subjects to take another sip from their respective water sources. For Test Subject B, it was still all smooth sailing. The water was cool and refreshing as ever. But when Test Subject B took a sip, he found, to his horror, that it was stinging the inside of his mouth and throat. This led to a coughing fit where he coughed up one of his fillings. That was when the panic started to set in. Test Subject A began to scream and splutter as the diving suit filled with water, coming from the pool, the diving suit itself, and his body. The transmutation had begun, but the most horrifying part was that it wasn't just happening from the outside in, but also the inside out. Test Subject B, on the other hand, was having a pretty wonderful time. For him, this experiment seemed to only entail getting into a weird diving suit and drinking up some refreshing mineral water. The researcher dismissed him from the experiment, saying, "Okay, Test Subject B, we're moving to the next phase, which is a full medical analysis. But you'll need to, decompress before you can exit the suit. It will take several hours, so get comfortable in there. Please take a drink every time the indicator light goes on and let me know if anything changes. Use the urination adapter as needed." To which the shockingly lucky D-Class replied,
"Understood. That was easy."
The debrief on the experiment read, "Testing was ended due to internal electrical and subsequent structural failure of atmospheric dive suit A. Retrieval was not attempted. Complete loss of atmospheric dive suit A occurred after approximately 15 hours. Test Subject B was extracted after 17 hours. No physiological changes were detected. Subject B's urine was recovered and showed no extraordinary properties. Subject B has been released to the Class D pool group for future reuse." The water remaining in the barrel was left to evaporate and did so within the expected time frame. No residue of any kind remained. Approvals on further tests for SCP-242 are still pending. Now that the property where SCP-242 is situated is under the command of the Foundation, it's actually relatively easy to keep it under lock and key, giving it the Containment class Safe. The New Mexico home is operated just like all the others on its street, with 2 Foundation researchers living there and posing as a married couple, with a Level 1 guard posing as their live-in cook. I don't know about all of you, but I personally think that it would be an excellent premise for a Spy Family-esque sitcom. And because the Foundation has never been one to let a potentially useful anomaly go to waste, the proposal has been logged to potentially use this anomaly as a way to dispose of other hazardous SCP materials. If this proposal was accepted, it would likely mean that SCP-242 would be reclassified as Thaumiel, but until we have anything official on that, we'll play it safe and stick to safe. Access to the pool is strictly regulated, with D-Class personnel being the only ones allowed into the water, and even then, only during heavily regulated testing periods. It's best to follow the Foundation containment procedures on this one, folks. This is one pool that you don't want to dip your toe into. Well, if you want to keep your toe, anyway.
Don't forget to join in on the hashtag Team Water Challenge to raise $40 million to help 2 million people with life-changing clean water that will flow for decades to come. Visit teamwater.org and donate if you can. And if you can't, you can still help by sharing this video around and spreading the word about hashtag Team Water.
Now check out the DrBob Patreon and become a junior researcher today. Now go and watch another entry from the files of DrBob, like SCP-1550, Dr. Wondertainment's Custom Pets, Top 12 SCP Animals compilation.